Hello, welcome to the Tuesday night music show. We got the crew back for the most part. They're all here. We've got Howie and John and Kevin's joining us tonight. We also have Eric from New Hampshire and Jay, fresh back from a show in Vegas. This show tonight is sponsored by DJ Event Planner. Find out more about our sponsors in the description of this video on YouTube. So speaking of shows, I thought it would be interesting to riff on this a little bit here on the Tuesday Night Music Show. Not directly music related, but we'll get some music stuff in there somewhere. But I thought at the top of the show, let's talk about it because it's changed a little bit. What got me thinking about this was a phone call that I had last week with my friend Chris Biller, aka Sparky B. He gave me a call and we were talking about the different shows. And he said, yeah, I'd like to get back out to one of these shows sometime. And I directed him. I said, look, just go to Atlantic City. He said, really? I said, yeah, you should go to Atlantic City. I said, it kind of resembles what you remember as the trade shows back in the old days. And if you don't know who Sparky is, I'll say it publicly. I've said it before. Sparky B was with ADJ, and he's been with several other companies. He was there when I got there, and he was very welcoming and cool. The guy's like 7 feet tall, and he used to host all of the parties that we would have at the different shows. And he was also the artist liaison, so he was the one who knew Vanilla Ice, and he knew, Digital Underground and Donnie by Nature and whoever, DJ Cool, and he would negotiate deals to bring them into the show with the show promoter. So he was a real valuable guy, and he was fantastic at hosting these shows. He does this still. He's still hosting some of these hip-hop R&B showcases from artists that you've heard of from let's just say the past, when they go on tour and they do these, what do you call them, Jay? Like I want to say review, but it's not a review. What is it, Jay? What's the word I'm looking for?
For Sparky?
No. When these acts like get together from a certain era and they all tour together.
Yeah. It's sort of a review. It's sort of a period. Like there's a great T-shirt I have. I'm sure you have it when Lou Gramm played, and they had it listed like a 50s, like the Richie Valens and Big Bopper and that sort of thing. But I think it would technically be a review where you would have multiple artists performing over a certain period of time.
Right.
And he knew
an era. All kind of related.
He knows everyone.
They call them legacy acts.
Well, legacy acts, but the collective group of them all going out together.
I think it would be a review.
Whatever it is. Anyway, he hosts these things. He does it to this day when they tour and they do things. They'll get together. I think he's working with artists from around 2000 right now, and there's several of them, and they'll do like House of Blues shows or whatever. But he's the guy who gets up in front of everybody, warms up the crowd, and then introduces the acts. But he also knows them well, and he's great at what he does.
Yeah, he really is. He's a great host.
I would love to see him at a show again sometime, because that's kind of how we used to do it, And I know times change. I understand that, but
they shouldn't change the way they've changed, though. And I think you can thank Instagram and TikTok and the internet for making people feel they're above where they are.
Here's my goal for tonight. I think this would be interesting. Instead of maybe bad-mouthing anything that's happening right now or putting that down, let's just say that you were a show producer. And you wanted some free advice from some folks out there who have been out there and they've seen it and they've done it and they've enjoyed it. What advice could we give them? What did we like about what we used to see at these shows that maybe we're not seeing anymore? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that a good show topic?
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
Jay's like, yeah, but...
No, I totally get it. And I think it's a value, but it's, when you said be a show producer, and it's like, I just produced the NAMM show. And I know how many moving parts there are, but yet I have the benefit of being, 18 years of memories or 16
Right.
years of memories with you at these shows. And I think the majority of the topics that we'll bring up, it'll be interesting to see what others have. I think you and I will have a lot of the same, but it'll be interesting to see what people have, because your perception of where you've come from and where you are is so different sometimes, individual to individual at these shows.
I'll kick it off, and I'll give you an example of the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. So in my conversation with Sparky, he had mentioned that he'd like to come back to his show sometime, and I had suggested that he come out to DJX in Atlantic City to join us, because I feel like that particular event is more like what he was used to back in the day.
Mm.
And the reason that I feel this way, every single one of these trade shows or DJ conventions, they have two things going on. They have the vendors displaying things, and they have seminars. But the part that I've seen missing from some of the shows that I've attended in recent years is it's like a floor plan or a venue that makes sense, where things are relatively close together. And there are common areas that people can gather.
Mm-hmm.
Because I understand the vendors are important, and I also understand that the seminars and the workshops are important, but the networking is important too. And if you've got people spread out, throughout a huge complex with no common area, I think that's kind of counterproductive to what we're trying to do, which is network and learn. In Atlantic City, for instance, there are a couple of common areas. The one that just I could think of off the top of my head would be just outside of the doors of the Expo Center.
Mm-hmm.
People gather there. Where the Circle Drive is?
Yep.
Yeah.
You meet people out there. You see people out there coming in and out.
Mm-hmm.
The bar, it's right there. You're not walking, 3 miles to this other thing
Yeah.
that you need a map to get to. It's not like that. I don't know. I think logistics with that are important, and I don't see much thought being put into that sometimes at some of these gatherings. That's what I'm going to kick it off with.
100%.
Yeah.
Would anyone like to throw their 2 cents into the ring on this?
Well, I will, because I've been to both places, Vegas and Atlantic City. And
well, you've been to multiple shows in Vegas.
Oh yeah, multiple.
Oh no. Wait, have you?
Oh yeah.
Were you at Mobile Beat?
Yeah, I was at that.
Okay.
The one year you said, "Hey, dude, you gotta come out here," and I went out and we hung around outside the showroom floor.
Oh, that's right. What am I thinking? Of course you were. You were Tropicana. Yeah.
And then there was a ton of people came out. We went out for a smoke, and they just it was like a huge crowd around our little table, like, hey, what's up? Everybody's, it was very social.
Mm-hmm.
And
You can hear. And inside you can't really, and that's an internal problem with the exhibitors and all that. But at least when you go outside, you're in kind of a, I don't want to say a controlled environment, but you're in a space where
noise free.
Yeah, you can have a conversation with somebody, and I think that's cool.
Well, the other thing I was thinking about is, recently, as you can name a show, these, newer pop-up shows that have been, Midwest things and so forth, is that, in my opinion, they have too many things going on at the same time. You've got the showroom floor, and they start, seminars at 8:00 in the morning and go until, 5 or 6. And it's like, which way do I go? It's no wonder that, I see people on the interwebs here and they go, you were there? I didn't see you. And it's like, yeah, because it's too much going on at the same time.
It's interesting you say that because, Jay will tell you too, the same thing's happening at DJX.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many people there. Not everybody's attending the seminars. At these smaller 100, 200 person shows, there's a 200 seat auditorium where everyone goes into and sits and takes notes. So it's almost like they're everyone's doing the same thing together. It's not separate classes kind of thing. So, but it's, when you have more people, you can pull that off easier than when you have less people. Because, it's those who aren't interested in the seminars who are on the showroom floor at Expo, typically, because they're doing seminars all day.
All day. Yeah.
Jay, you produced a couple shows.
Yeah, it's funny. I was saying to someone the other day, the first time I went to the show that I was attended last week was 1997. And it was at Tropicana, and it was huge. Like huge. As far as the expo area, because every company you guys can name had a booth. Gemini had a booth. Newmark. I mean, everybody. And it was an opportunity.
Victrola.
Pre-internet. Well, no, and this is the funny thing, because this came up too this last week. We all sort of talked about back before the internet became the thing. And I know that sounds archaic to say, but what I'm referencing is you went to these shows specifically to get the best deal you could get on gear. And then it started to move forward into a lot of, hey, can you match this price? Or you get a low price at a show and you hit your dealer and go, hey, the guy at the show's asking this.
Right.
And that's one aspect. But the part of the show that I miss the most, and if I could do a show where I had total control over it, I would somehow either have things end at a certain time. I'd have an hour off. I'd say, like, everything's done at 4, but we're doing this thing at 5. And that 1 hour period would be enough to maybe get people to go out in the hallway. And maybe I'd get the bar open, and maybe I'd say, hey, you know what? 4 to 5, you're off. 5 to 8, we're doing the expo hall. But if you want to go in the hallway, we're going to have some appetizers, maybe some, half-price drinks, to try to instill in people, this is what the basis of these shows really is the camaraderie.
Yeah.
It's the meeting new people. It's the hanging out and learning. I've learned more at the bar and in the hallway of shows than I've ever learned in a seminar.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, 100%. You could do it, and we've joked about it, and it's already on the docket for September, October, and November. The famous, let's get 30 to 50 DJs, Sunday to Tuesday, leave Wednesday, find a hotel in Vegas, everyone gets a room, and everyone chips into a suite, and you meet in the suite from 9 to 5. And you get vendors to come in and donate gear, an expert, whatever, and a minimal amount of money. You call up my company and say, hey, if you want to send a controller and a guy and $200, you can have half an hour of our time. And then we want you to do another half hour of open questions on everything you manufacture. Oh, okay. And you get 3 vendors a day, 3 hours of the 8 hours. The other 5 are literally like, hey, Brian, how do you introduce brides and grooms where you are? Well, Jay, I do this. Oh, no way. Then, because all you need is, it's such a snowball down, a mountain. You just need that little, hey, I'm getting a couple of gobo lights, but I have no clue what to, Howie, boom. You know what? I've got a couple of things coming up that are production. Oh, you know what? Oh, hey, John C. And it's amazing how you learn an insane amount. And I think I told you, Brian, a couple of years ago, this came up in Vegas with Larry and a few other DJs who were like, we missed those cabana parties.
Yeah.
We were talking about you and the cabana party last week, too. Your name got brought up a ton last week, by the way.
Probably I got ear infection.
Oh, well, that's probably it.
That's probably it.
But it was one, is Brian here? Because I become the conduit. Hey, man, is Brian here?
Where is he?
I'm like, he's not here. Well, Brian's going to be at Midwest, right? I'm like, I don't think so. I don't know, though. I mean, I can't really speak for him. And then Midwest came to me. You would have been proud, Brian. I wish you were flying the wall. Midwest came to me and said, hey, we'd love to get Pioneer involved in the show. I said, yeah. I said, about your show. I talked to a guy in Boston about your show, and I said, oh, you're in Milwaukee. You got Brian Red speaking, right? Who's that? And he kind of snickered, and he goes, yeah, he's a younger DJ. I don't think he knows. I wasn't well because I went on the site and the guys. In all transparency, the kid's name is Josh. Very nice guy. I saw him DJ. He's a good DJ. Sharp guy. You saw him, John. He was at the Harvest of Sound show.
We saw him when he was there, yep.
But I went and read his bio, and he's a teacher. He's got a DJ program going, the whole 9 yards. But he said very clearly, I've only been a DJ for 8 years. And I thought, oh, okay, well, we're only 4 years out of COVID.
Yeah.
So that puts you down the mid 2016, 17. Things were already starting to change then.
Yeah.
So I can kind of see if you're not in line with the research online, if you're not a big YouTube guy, things can fall through the cracks. But I think the younger DJs like him and others, they would benefit so much if they knew there was a time when we could all collectively speak to each other, because none of us knew everything.
I will say this on this note, and it's unfortunate, but I don't remember things being so polarized.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's gotten cliquish almost.
I don't recall that. And maybe it was happening and I was oblivious to it, because granted, my experience is different than the normal, the average show attendee. But I don't recall things getting so clicky. Yeah.
Yeah.
I said this joke twice last week and they kind of half got it. And I wouldn't have said this 5 years ago. And last week it came up twice where we were discussing the state of affairs in the DJ community. I said, well, you know the difference between God and a DJ, right? And they said, no. I said, God doesn't think he's a DJ. Now, I would have never told that joke 5 years ago. I wouldn't have. But, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you would have seen something and you would have rushed to tell me about it. But now, because Instagram, TikTok, stories, Facebook posts, everything has become such a leading thing that people are much faster to go, hey, man, I got to go. I got to go up to my room and edit these photos so I can post to my brides and grooms. And I understand that. But the sad part is while you're running to your room, you're passing 10 DJs who know 100 times more than you and could genuinely tell you one bit of advice that would change the trajectory of your career. And everyone is just like this now. We used to be like this, like, oh my God, is that Brian Redd? Oh my God, is that Chris Ant? Oh my God, is that Jim? Oh my God.
I think it was one of the...
It's just become this now. I think everyone is just like, I'm at a show and I'm going online. It's sad.
It was one of the last Tropicana shows. I remember I was walking. I talked to somebody several times. I even did.
Well, you held court outside. If you were never, by the way, if you never saw the BSR court outside of the show, outside of the seminar rooms, there was a smoking lounge by the pool.
Yeah,
it was the BSR court, that table with the umbrella, and there was one guy that came out and asked if, I swear on my life, guy sat down. He's like, had like a cowboy hat, I think, or something. He's like, yeah, Brian Redd, and it's like, no, he's right here. Like, he thought you weren't there and you were sitting next to me. Remember? And he was like, well, where I am. And
I remember that guy.
Yeah. It was.
Oh.
I never left that
guy.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
But you never left. You never left without knowing more. Yeah. And the thing was, we would be, I mean, I saw Naveen. We all know Naveen. If you don't know Naveen, Naveen is a Detroit Indian DJ who does pretty much only Indian events. And I saw him a few times, and he had a suite this time, like he has in the past. But even he said, he's like, "Oh man, I miss the tamale parties, and I miss like when Steve would DJ, and it'd be you and Brian. And remember that time that Jonathan came over, and Where Are the Brits, and it's not the gathering it once was." And part of it is things like this. I haven't physically seen Brian outside of Expo. Yeah.
Well, Expo, we see each other. Yeah.
Right. We do. That's once a year. But go back 5-6 years ago.
We saw each other every 2 months.
NAMM. I'd see you in Vegas.
Yeah.
I'd see you at Expo.
Play all the time.
Right. But I think because we can connect like this, we take for granted that everything's okay. And what we forget is we need to have another chill chat room almost about pretend you're at a show. It's like maybe the chill room should sponsor a DJ show coming up. And it will be, just to try it, it could be a 4 or 5 hour day show.
Yeah.
2 or 3 days. And it would be in this realm.
I had
it would be just info that we could give each other.
Well, I had an interesting idea last night that I'll share with you when the show's over. John and I were talking about it. Something we could do. Something this summer. So I'll let you in on it too, Howie. It's
speaking of John wouldn't be here if he had not approached us during a social hour.
Yeah,
right.
He approached me first, and we talked, and he was like, you're doing lighting off an iPad. And I said, yeah. And then I said, hey, really, really good to see you. And then I look across that room, and he's talking to Jay. So I walk over, and Jay's like, hey, I want you to meet my new best friend. I'll die for this guy.
Right. And I've got to be honest with you, Howie, and John's not embarrassed about this because he knows it's a fact. I'd actually caught John stealing a wallet out of another DJ. And when you came over, I didn't want to give away that I was kind of undercover at the end.
No, he wasn't a good DJ, though.
Yeah. No, he wasn't. So I probably should have just let it go. I probably could have just said, like, hey, Farina loses a wallet. I don't know what to say.
From going to some of these shows, what I do actually have something to offer to this, and it's something that Harvest the Sound is doing right that some of the others need to catch up on, is when we do the speaker showdown. I've been to Harvest 3 times, I think 4 now for Atlantic City, and I have gone to the South Point. I've done Vegas. Is that after the speaker shootout is done, they leave that room assembled with tables and chairs, and people can go in and sit down and talk.
Yeah.
Now, what you don't really have that at TJX in Atlantic City. There's no centralized area. It's logistics that you want to get everyone in a place where they can be comfortable, not standing in a hallway. I mean, that's good, but it could be better.
Well, in the old days at the same property, it was Ego Lounge.
That's in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
And we had Center Bar at the Riviera.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We had the back bar at the Tropicana.
Yeah, and it's even now at Hard Rock, you can establish it. There are people in that back bar. There are.
Yeah, no, there are.
And I think it's just a matter of everyone connecting and meeting there. There are opportunities and places to do it, but sometimes it's not as obvious.
I almost think, Brian, I almost think there's a phobia now almost of and again, I don't want to gripe on this younger gen and all that, but I think there's almost a phobia now of DJs that have got so much information online that they're almost afraid to share.
Man, I tell you what, people open up and talk to me at every show.
No, and people talk to me too. And I get stuff from people like in the booth.
Yeah.
I had guys coming up giving me nugget after nugget after nugget, but we would get in a conversation. But I think if you took them in the hallway and you took off the shirt and it was just 2 DJs, I mean, I think people were hungry because it was so much effort to get to shows. Now people take for granted there are shows because you can go to our YouTube channels and see like everything you've ever wondered. I mean, look back now. I don't know how many videos you have now. I mean, I remember when you got to 666 with Stilo and Abstract. But you got to have, I don't know, 3,000 plus videos.
I don't know.
Go back to when you had 800 and you were at the same show and people were like getting a taste of it. Like, whoa, this is the real deal.
Right.
That's kind of been replaced by, there's 20 of those at the show that are gaining ground and traction, but they've done it in the span of 2 or 3 years. And and we all agreed, including some of them, it's all going to start going away. Like the topic of conversation was, hey, did you see that video that guy put up that he made fun of the guys that did the reviews for Pioneer? That was a big topic at the show, believe it or not. And it's kind of too bad. It's like, that's the freedom we have. You can put a video up and rant about anything you want.
Yeah.
But what did you learn from it?
Well,
did you leave the show knowing more than you came in with?
Here's what's odd. And I was going to say this earlier, but we went somewhere else. When you're talking about people approaching people, I don't know if it's as welcoming as it used to be. I always make a point before a show to tell everybody, come talk to me. Come say hi. I'm never too busy to say hi to you. I will talk to you.
Yep.
Because people, you were busy. Like, no. No. I have a policy with my children. I'm never too busy for you.
Right.
Plus, I'm going to work. I can't help you if I got a gig. But if I'm, hey, look, last night, Stevie needed something. I was out and about doing some other stuff. I couldn't make the show because my kid comes first.
Right.
That's just how it goes. So that's how it is with everybody. But
sure,
I've know people who I've done shows with. I've done broadcasts with them, and we've talked. And I thought, okay, yeah, I kind of know this guy. Whatever. Knows who I am. I know who they are. Go to a show. They're walking down the hall with their posse. Hey, man.
Yeah.
Ghost you.
Yeah.
Walk right past you.
Right past you.
Yeah.
Hey, dude.
It's the cliques of high school, I guess, and it's unfortunate.
I can't believe this.
There's
what's going on here.
And I said to the guys that run the show. I talked to the liaison to all the vendors, and he's like, "Hey, what can we change? What can we do?" And we had a good 15-minute conversation. I just said, "You know what? This was something. This was a thing that we looked forward to." I mean, I'm saying this with all honesty and transparency. I go to these shows and I get paid to travel there. I get paid to stay there. I get paid to eat there. And my hotel room is paid for, and I don't pay for a ticket.
Right. It's a different experience than
it's a much different experience. But I can't tell you how every time till probably 2020, I would leave these shows, at least Mobile Beat. I would leave Mobile Beat and I would already be excited to go to the next one. Couldn't wait for the next one.
Yeah.
Now, part of that was at the end of Mobile Beat, the former owner of that show would have all the vendors come up. And I think you were there one time, Brian.
Yeah.
He would have us come up to his suite at the top of the Riv.
Right.
Or the Trop. And he'd have pizza and some beers and all that. And he'd be like, "Hey, I appreciate your support. I want to thank all of you. What can I do differently next year? Please let me know. I'm an open door, blah, blah, blah."
Right.
But it was just, I knew I was going to leave there because I live in two worlds. I live in the world of, hey, I've got a cool shirt that says my name and a company. But when I leave the show, I go back to just being a DJ, which I'm very proud of.
Right.
And as a DJ, I want to be better. Every year, I'm never going to be great. I'm never going to be perfect. I'm never going to have it all.
We're all work in progress.
Exactly. Right. But exactly, Brian. And as a work in progress, you gauge it against things. And one of the things I used to gauge my progress against was, man, when I get to Mobile Beat, when I get to February or March in Vegas, I got to see what people have for me for the next season. And then when August rolls around, we're knee deep in the season. So you're like, hey, how's it been? How's it going? What have you done this year? And then with something like Harvest in December, it's like, man, what a great year, or what not a great year, or this is what I would have done differently, or what are we going to forecast? And then we have NAMM, and it becomes cyclical. You look at it from, I'm going to meet people, see things, get things, learn things. But it was just, there was a real sense of friendship and camaraderie.
Yeah.
Somebody showed me the picture. I don't know where they got it, but it's you, me, Pulse, 2007, 8, 9, 10, the Cabana Party.
So I had two working arms at the time.
Marshall. Oh, yeah, no, it was pre-stroke. Marshall was there. Well, put it this way, Chris Andrews was still alive.
Oh, yeah,
it was that one.
Cabana Party.
Jasper I was still alive. I mean, I said that. I go, 1, 2, 3, there's 3 people there that are gone.
Right.
And I think sometimes your memories tend to cloud it. But where I don't think that's the case with these shows, it's the fact that, as we said, you're always a work in progress and you're always there to learn.
Yeah.
And we've always been, and I challenge anyone to prove me different. I've always been accepting of, tell me something I don't know. I've started every single seminar with, I don't know everything, and there's someone in this room that knows a lot more than me. So any advice or anything you can teach me. I've never been on my high horse, ever. Nor has anyone else.
That's where the exchange comes in, Jay.
Exactly.
It's like I helped you with your light show and you wound up getting a bunch of gigs, but you helped me with music. So it's like, freely given. It's like, and I think, to quote an old platitude, be the change you want to see. And that's what we have here. we wouldn't have John if he wasn't outgoing enough to approach me and you, Jay,
Right.
in Vegas. And then he just clicked with us. Like, how you just
Right.
meshed.
But I think most of us wouldn't we? I think the majority of, I don't know that I've met many and there are DJs that are famously not on my list of Christmas cards, that if I met them one-to-one and sat in a room with them, I bet you dollars to donuts, we'd have an amazing conversation.
Sure.
Because if they're actually a real DJ, and by real DJ, somebody that wants to always be better, then we'd be fine. I've talked to guys that are like, I'm not that into music. I do this because it makes me quick money. I got a day job. My wife, Then you know what? That's fine, dude. Have a great show. Anything I can help you with, let me know.
I mean, something's changed.
It's the aspiring. I mentioned his name pre-show, Stacey Knowles.
Yeah.
Still one of the best voices I've ever heard.
Yeah, he's got that voice.
And Stacey puts videos up, and Stacey tries, and Stacey works, and Stacey continues. And I've known Stacey for 20 plus years. And I didn't get to hang out with him at this show, and that really bothered me. It really did. Yeah. And I didn't see Larry. I didn't see. There's probably 30 or 40 people I did not see that I really look forward to at the beginning of the year of hanging out with and saying, hey, man, how's it going? How's the wife? How's the kids? How's the gigs? What's new? Oh, I bought these lights. Oh, I got this facade. Oh, I bought this new suit coat. What are you wearing? Oh, I got this new tie. I'm really excited, and this is why. And it's just the industry's changed, and it does, and it should change. It needs to change sometimes. But I don't think the fact that you have professionals with experience there to talk to each other should ever change.
Well, maybe you bring up a good point, Jay. Yeah. Maybe, dare I say, okay, maybe the culture's changed. Okay, and it has absolutely changed.
Yeah.
I think that there are people in this world who can have a good time in a cemetery. It doesn't matter where they are. you get the right people together. Yeah, my Uncle Dave was famous for that, man. My Uncle Dave. You get the right group of people together. It doesn't matter where you are.
No, not at all.
It's gonna be cool.
Oh, it's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be real cool.
100%.
So I think there was a lot of that back in the day.
Yeah.
Now I'm not suggesting it can't happen, but maybe the culture now needs a little push. Quick example, just a real quick example. And it's a mindset. Last week, the casino, it wasn't fantastic. And I suggested to them, hey, I'm playing to carpeting here on the casino floor. If we added high boys, it might give people a place to hang out. We have all this room. Maybe if we put some high boys up, it might help. I thought they kind of dismissed that. But I came back last week, this past weekend, and they had high boys up. And sure enough, they gathered, and they had a fantastic night.
And they had a dance floor, too.
They had a dance floor, too. So kind of the same crowd, but a different setup. Yes. Again, going back to what I was talking about before, it's a logistics issue. You're going to have people who are going to rent the cabana and invite the right people and have a great party. That can happen, but you got to have them there. If they're not there, you got to make sure your logistics are real tight and encourage gathering and encourage camaraderie. And you know what? Maybe a bunch of DJs playing self-indulgent sets, that's maybe not the best thing to do.
Right.
Maybe something else is a good thing to do.
Yes.
Where you can actually speak to each other and you're not showing off, and I don't know.
Well, I mean, the number of people that came up to me, and I'll say it was probably a dozen, who I apologize up front and in public. I don't think I remembered who all of them were, but they all remembered who I was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, that's going to happen when you've done this show for 20 plus years with the same company. You wear the same shirt. It's pretty, I'm on video. Right. It's like, I'm not being a jerk. I'm kind of known in these things, and that's fine. But it was funny what they brought up to me. and none of them brought up name change or this new gear. Or they brought up things like, man, I miss the Queen Victoria pub. Well, considering they blew the hotel up
it's right.
8 years ago. So that means we would have gone to Tropicana, because I think it was 2016 was when they
Queen
imploded.
Victoria pub, wasn't that Riviera?
That was Riviera. So that blew up in, I think, 2016.
No, it
2017.
Maybe, something.
Because you made a video.
I made a video.
Yeah.
So whenever I put the video up, and you kind of look at things and go, man,
you were
that
one
was
of those
quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
Like, wow, when, how did that, you're going back.
Quite frankly, I miss Bistro Bar and Ego. And the cool thing about both Bistro Bar and Ego,
the story,
they were already happening and I joined in.
Oh,
and I don't know how they happened, but they did.
Nor do I.
And I wish something like
too.
that would happen again somewhere and I could join in. Because if I try to make it happen, it's not going to work.
Yeah, no,
it's got to happen organically somehow.
The Ego Lounge was just the stories. I told famously.
Well, 24 hours helped.
That helped, but we were walking through Trump Taj Mahal, like 9 a.m, and I'm with the president of the U.S., who's from Japan,
right,
and then the chairman from Japan who had come to visit, along with other people in the company. And it's like, hey, you're a mobile DJ. What do we need to do to help this show? We love this. We want to be there. And as we're going, all of a sudden, Jay, how you doing? Bud Light. It's like 9 a.m, and I'm like, no, hey, how are you? No, I'm good for right now. I'll see you tonight. And they all kind of look like, Jason is famous. Like, I'm like, no, apparently I'm just drinking a lot of Bud Light.
And they're too far away because you don't know their name to read their name tags.
Fortunately, I knew it was John because I'd seen him like 5 hours earlier and he was still working his shift. But it said, you have these little bits and pieces memories.
Right.
First time I met Bill, John and all of Bill Diorio from Boston, Sound City Events and Production. Same thing. Met at one of the shows, chit-chatting about bridal introductions and what do you do? But that's the thing that used to come up. You would be standing at a bar or a restaurant or a gambling or whatever, and somebody would be like, hey man, how you doing? I love your booth. Go, oh, thanks, man. Hey, you do weddings? Yeah. Oh, what do you do for this? And people would just have that discussion. I almost feel as though the shows would benefit dramatically if they would have an opening night. And somebody brought this up from Tropicana, and it is true. The last couple of years, Ryan had like a taco party on Sundays. So the first people that came in and got their passes and registered and all that would then go outside, and there was like a little open, beer and wine thing and some food. And it was a great hangout because as a DJ, we spend our careers having to stand behind the booth while people are eating and drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And we rarely ever get to go somewhere and eat and drink.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We did a pool party the year that Pioneer did not attend the Tropicana, which I think was 2018 or 19. I think it was 18. We didn't even have a booth. I went.
But you came. Yeah, I remember that.
I came. And that Monday, I talked with Ryan. I talked with Pioneer, and I said, hey, there's a hole. And Davey, my old boss, and I put together a happy hour at the pool.
Yep.
We had 500 people come to the pool, and it took us one day to put it together.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they were thrilled. We were throwing headphones in the water. Some girl jumped in the pool to get headphones. I mean, it was like, it was mayhem. We gave the gear that I used away that night at Hooters. Like,
I remember that.
Those things can happen that quickly because what I've learned in corporate world is everyone wants to be different and set apart. And oftentimes spontaneity is kind of the mother of success in that realm. So if I could say to Brian and I were at a show on a Wednesday at 10 in the morning, it'd be cool? What? It'd be cool if we gave away you doing a video with a random DJ from the show and doing an interview on your channel. And Brian said, yeah, that sounds cool. I could do that. And then I say, you know what? How about if we include a Pioneer set of headphones? Actually, you know what? Let me talk to Mike. Hey, I think we could give away an Everest 8? Yeah. Let me talk to DJ Event Planner. I think we give like a 6 months. Before you know it, you've got this insane package put together in 10 minutes, and you go, hey, everybody, if you're here at 4 o'clock, this is what we're doing. You'd have everyone there at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what's missing in the new shows. The new shows don't understand the lineage, and I don't think they understand that we as DJs are thirsty and hungry for knowledge.
I've hinted towards this a couple of times tonight, and I don't think it's something Jay can relate to, but I know how he can, and I know John can. And Kevin would be able to relate to this as well, but Jay has no concept of this. Not anymore. Maybe he used to, but he doesn't know. And I'm just going to throw it out there.
Okay.
Just going to throw it out there. Let's say somebody from where it's cold, the middle part of the country, the middle bit.
Yeah, I'm not there.
Decides to go to Las Vegas in February. Let's just hypothetically speaking, February. I'm going to go to Vegas. Chances are it's going to be below zero when I leave, get on the airplane. There might even be snow falling. It's happened before. When I get to Vegas with palm trees and temperatures above freezing, I want the opportunity to be outside occasionally.
Yes.
In fact, I want to spend all of my time outside because it's nice to get some sunshine on your face.
That's a great point.
And to get some vitamin D in your skin. Now, it doesn't matter for Atlantic City. It's warm everywhere. Who cares? I mean, unless you're coming from Antarctica, you don't care about being outside. And if you did, there's a boardwalk for that. But in the wintertime, if you're going to do a trade show anywhere in desert tropical, perhaps you should. Part of the allure for coming there is the weather for a lot of us. It's a break.
Yeah.
I need a property where I have the opportunity to go outside. And there are some properties in Vegas that I've attended where it feels like I'm on a cruise ship and the pool deck's closed. And I'm stuck inside all the time. And I'm out at sea. And I can see the Las Vegas Strip over the ocean, but I can't get to it. Or I have to rent a motorboat that's pretty expensive to get to it. I'm just saying it would be nice if I could either walk out of the casino and be in a place like Las Vegas, or there was a patio I could go hang out on or something.
Yeah.
Because you're stuck inside all week, and I think that's a drag. I just want to throw it out there.
I've already said I wanted. Oh, go ahead, Howie.
Unless you've just flown in, and it's like, okay, I flew during the nor'easter, and when I got, I had the Carhartt and the hoodie on and everything else to get, to Newark, and then I get to Vegas, and I'm like, oh my God, it's 74 degrees, and I'm like,
right.
I got luggage in one hand and a Carhartt and a hoodie and everything else in the other hand. I mean, I'm not complaining, but I mean that's the worst that's ever happened to me. Was I had to carry a winter coat in Vegas.
Here's the secret: you get a suitcase and you leave one half of it empty for your parka. And when you get the baggage claim, you take your parka off, you put it in your suitcase, and you're done with it.
Yeah.
Ask me how I know how to do that. I did it. I've done it at NAMM a dozen times. I've done it in Vegas so many times.
Then just reverse the order when you're going home. Make sure it's handy.
Exactly.
When you get off the plane, it's going to be zero.
Exactly. Right before you check your bag, take your parka out. I know it's 80 degrees out there, but it won't be when you get off that plane.
people
So,
people
that's exactly
were
how you do
looking at
that.
me like, what are you doing with this winter gear? I was just I felt like, ugh.
Yeah, I came from the North Pole. You know,
I mean,
it's a short trip.
alternately, if it's a direct flight and you're going back to a place like, say, Milwaukee, you can leave your parka in the bag, and when it comes off the luggage conveyor, you pull it out, unzip it, pull the parka off, put it on, and go outside in the blizzard. That
Good
works.
advice. Good advice.
Little
Yeah.
travel tip for y'all.
Travel
There
nugget.
we go. Yeah. Then you won't get stared at like me.
Final words.
By the way, real quick, two things. One, June 28th, 2016 was the implosion date of the Riv. So we
Yeah.
would have gone to the Tropicana in 2014. So even though what feels like a few years ago,
Right.
the conversation we're having is really 10 years plus.
Yeah.
That's one. Two, I will make it public, and hopefully that will shame people into it. But one of my suggestions already was, hey, I'd like to see us do a pool party next year because we're in Las Vegas, and
That'd be
let's
nice.
do it earlier, and it gets people outside. But when I suggest this to my bosses, I'm going to also suggest, hey, it's 1 hour. Let's make people buy their own drinks instead of giving them free alcohol.
hmm
But let's get an In-N-Out food truck to show up.
That would be cool.
And
That'd
we'll
be awesome.
cover that cost.
Yeah.
They have to have one in Vegas.
And you have to
Oh, no,
go.
they have an In-N-Out, and they have
Yeah.
a truck.
Okay.
Like, you can rent the truck from them, and they bring food. You can't
Right
get
on.
fries. It's only chips and
Right. It's burgers and chips. Yeah.
because they don't have fryers in it.
Right. Right.
But I mean, how stoked would you be if you got to go to the pool and listen to some music, have a beer, and have some In-N-Out over a span of 1 hour?
I think that
And
would be
then
dope.
we'll raffle off the gear that I'm using. So if it's a controller, guess what? At the end of the session, I call your name. If you're here, you pick it up, you walk away with it. Like,
I
that
think
would
you
be-
can stretch that out to 2.5 hours.
Oh, I
Yeah.
think we could do it easily.
Fun.
We could do it, the first night even. We could make the takeover become the pool.
Or do it at
And
dusk.
do it early, but do it
Yes.
early. Do it.
No, those are cool
5
things.
to.
Yeah.
That's one of the ideas I came up with earlier.
That's a good idea because if you control the music, like remember that one place they said, oh, yeah, come on into the pool, and it was all like tropical and everything, but it was ear splitting. Nobody could talk. But if you did it and you were to control the music to a certain level,
It's not
You
going to
know.
be ear splitting.
Well, you make it look like what we're doing now at the Irish pub. It's a social.
right?
Yeah,
that's-
It's not a rave.
No,
It's
and
a
it's a
social
matter of
gathering.
like,
You know.
well, especially if you've got new gear, you could say, hey, we've got this gear. How about we do this? You get 15 minutes
Yeah.
on the newest gear in Vegas on the strip, and we go back to what the takeover was
right.
14 years ago.
We certainly could.
And it's a matter of bring an SD, bring a USB drive, show up, plug it in, play for 15, get photos, leave.
Yeah, and your volume stays down.
Volume will stay down because we control it. And it's an
Right.
ability for you to all meet each other, hang
Yeah.
out, chit chat. We'll give away some stuff
Right.
from our company. It's our welcome to Vegas, welcome to 2025. And we encourage
I like
you
it.
to simply exchange
I would totally
ideas.
dig that.
Sure.
I like
So,
it, because
Yeah,
when
that was
you
a talk
when,
we had last week
when
that
you
I
did-
had.
when you did your seminar and you gave away that gear, and you gave away a controller to someone, and the guy was jumping up and down like he was on, the
Yeah.
Price is Right or something. But then they wanted pictures. The guy was holding this thing like it was a baby, like he had just, hit the lottery. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like golden publicity. And
Well,
like,
I mean, people, and rightfully so, people get very excited. I mean, I'm very
oh,
jaded.
yeah.
I fortunately keep getting gear because it's my job to use the gear, try the gear, talk about the
Right.
gear, know the gear.
Yeah.
But I remember the days of buying gear and saving up and being
Mhm.
fucking thrilled, like getting that new mixer
Yeah.
home, and you
Mm.
spend hours. Like, wife's like, you want to eat? No, I'm done. I'm good. I'm just, I'm check it out, Michelle. Look, when I do the crossfader, I can do an echo on it. Okay, whatever. Okay, we got to feed the kids. They're young.
Yeah,
Just
come
get
on.
in the house.
Come on, Jay.
No, I'm
Knock
in
it
the
off.
garage. This is awesome. And that's the excitement that I want to see. And I think it's under the surface of a lot of DJs. And I think
Yeah.
with the right prodding and the right opportunity,
And
that
leadership.
excitement would come back out.
Brian
Leadership.
nailed it. Brian nailed it. Leadership. Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's put a fork in this, Howie. What do you say?
I'm ready. I am your resident engineer for the evening.
We will see you all next week.